Today we're going to talk about significant figures, also called significant digits. And what significant figures does is determines how precise something is. So by looking at how many significant digits something has, I can tell how precise the tool I used was. So the one scale that I have, you guys know, measures to like the nearest thousandth. The other one only goes to the nearest tenth. So if it's going to 1,000th, it's a lot more precise than the one that only goes to a tenth. So that is, precision is limited by the tools that we have. Some tools are more precise than others. And then significant figures include all digits plus one estimated digit. So when you measure, I am going to start, okay, I know that it's 5, and then I know that it's 5.2, and then I have to estimate how far between the 2 and the 3 is it. So they're saying it looks like about a 3, so my answer would be 5.23. And whenever we use centimeters, which hopefully you know because we've done this in the past, it always has 2 decimal places because of its precision. So there is one example. When we look at numbers, there are rules. So here's rules that you can come back and look at. I do want to point out one thing. Counting numbers don't really have significant digits. If I say I have 12 kids in class, I'm not going to say I have 11.75. I can't have 11.75 students. If I'm counting something, it has to be a whole number. You're going to give me that number no matter what. So Rule 5 is kind of an add-on where if you're counting whole objects, you're going to use that number no matter what. The other rules basically come down to this. Anything that's not a 0 will always be significant. So 1 through 9 are always significant. Sandwiched zeros, or zeros in between numbers, are always significant. Any zeros to the right of the decimal that are not placeholders are significant. And then here, placeholders are not significant. So basically there's 2 things you're going to look for. 5, 7, 3. How many significant digits? There's no zeros. How many of them are significant? Non-zero numbers are always significant. So are these significant digits? So how many are there? Boy, I'm missing the girls today. There are 3 significant digits. If I have 505, this 0 is sandwiched, or it's in between, wherever this one, 0 between non-zero numbers. That 0 counts. I still have 3 significant digits. Basically, I'm looking for zeros. And there's only 2 times that zeros do not count. If I have 0.00057, these zeros are placeholders. If I were to write this in scientific notation, I would start with 5.7, and I'd have 10 to the negative 4th. Those zeros do not count as a significant digit. This number would only have 2 significant digits. So placeholders do not count. The other example is if I do not have a decimal anywhere. So if I have 5,000, I would write that 5 times 10 to the 3rd. There's no decimal. I have 1 significant digit those zeros do not count. However, if I had 5,000.0, that is telling me that I used a measuring device that tells me it measures to the nearest tenth. It has a decimal, everything counts. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant digits. So there's only 2 times the zeros don't count. If they are a placeholder in the front, and if they are at the back when there's no decimal, then your zeros do not count. And that is the brunt of significant figures. So if I am going to calculate the volume of a book, so get out your calculators, we're going to practice some of this. Take 28.3 times 22.2 times 3.65. I have my calculators. Cole, can you tell me what you get?
2,293.149.
Okay, say that again.
2,293.149.
Okay. If I have that, how many significant digits do I have? 7. There's no zeros. You cheer. That's easy. There's no zeros. Everything counts. Here are some practice problems. So if I look at the first one, I'm not going to say anything. Can you guys see that from where you're at? Tell me how many significant digits letter A has. I have 0.000400230. Royce says 5. Do we agree? I have 1 yes and I have 1 no. Do these zeros count? Nope, those are placeholders. Does this 0 count? Yep, it's sandwiched. Does this 0 count? There's a decimal. Does that 0 count? Yes, it does. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is correct. There are 5 significant digits. Okay, the second one, 405,000. Notice there is no decimal anywhere. How many significant digits? Cole says 3. Do we agree? Do these 3 zeros count? They do not. There's no decimal. I would write this 4.05 times 10 to the 5th. I have 3 significant digits. If there's not a decimal, the zeros at the end do not count. And this is in your notes. The steps are over here to show you what counts and what does not count. Here, calculators have no idea about significant figures. So you'll calculate stuff and then you're going to have to look at it and see if it should be significant or not. It gives you rules for rounding. You can go back and look at that. I'm going to give you kind of an abbreviated, some examples. So addition and subtraction, you look at decimal places. Circle that on your notes, and I'll do examples in a little bit. When you multiply and divide, you look at significant digits. So you treat adding and subtracting differently than multiplying and dividing. It is not treated the same way. So, example. I have a student is measuring the length of shoes. There's 3 lengths I want a total. What are you going to do with those 3 numbers if I want a total? Add them together. So somebody add 28 plus 23.538 plus 25.68 and tell me what your calculator tells you.
54.218.
Okay, I added. And in your notes I had you circle, when you add, you look at what? Decimal places or significant digits? You should have circled. What does it tell you for adding and subtracting? Decimal places. How many decimal places does that have? 1 decimal place. It's 0.0. How many decimal places does that have? 3, and this has 2. I always go with my lowest. So, my answer is going to have how many decimal places? 1. So I'm going to write 54 point. I look at this. Does it stay a 2 or become a 3? 2. 1 doesn't round it. So my answer would be 54.2 centimeters. So that would be one example of adding and subtracting. You look at decimals. And here's your review, your essential questions, the vocab. Percent error, if you were gone for that, I can do a couple examples of that. But that's where I'll stop for now.